Hi, so this question is, what can I do if the person with Alzheimer's disease is delusional? I used to think that having Alzheimer's disease meant having a bad memory, and that's true, but it's only a very small part of it. When my mum started having delusions, it came as a bit of a shock. I'll give you an example of the kinds of things that she used to do, that she still does to some extent, so that we can try and understand what I mean when I say delusions. So, for example, she may bring a book into a room and put it down on the table, perhaps go into the kitchen, make a cup of tea, come back, see the book at the table, forget that she had put it there, then assume that somebody else must have put it there, and from that builds a whole chain of suppositions. So who could it have been that left the book there? Who had access to her house? Why would they have left the book there? Does she need to do anything? Does she need to contact them? Is it a gift? Should she thank them? Was the book left there maliciously? Is there anything she needs to worry about? And this idea, this confusion about how to interpret the sudden discovery of a new object in the middle of her home can escalate in all kinds of different ways. That still happens. That was one of the early ones. And it was often the case that she would think it would be myself or one of her other children, or it would be one of the carers that had done it, because that makes the most sense. We have access. She didn't always know why we would have reason to do these things. And then the delusions became a bit stranger, in as much as she would be absolutely convinced that she saw somebody, again, usually one of her children or the carers, doing something. So she would say she absolutely definitely saw me carrying some object around the house, out of the house, whatever it was, and then she'd be concerned about it and then talk to one other of her children to try and understand what had happened. And we're really now starting to get into the realm of emotion. So it almost doesn't matter what the delusion is, it usually triggers some kind of emotional response. So at the beginning, where she's assuming maybe I'd given her a gift of the book, well, that's a nice thing to do. But later on they start becoming more sort of radical, and there'd be whole long explanations as to strange experiments that were happening. They'd be slightly more or increasingly paranoid. And you get all of the emotion that comes with it. And that's really the focus of the answer to this question is, what can I do if the person with Alzheimer's is delusional? If they're right in the core of the delusion at the minute, if they feel that their territory, their home has been breached, let's say, like they're absolutely convinced they've been burgled, then that's horrible. You know what it's like, or you can imagine what it's like to be burgled. It's really a nasty feeling, and it stays with you for a long time. So you have to deal with that emotion first. I would suggest that's the most important thing to do, is to deal with that emotion, respond to that emotion as if whatever the event was had really taken place. But also, and in equal measure, I believe that you kind of have to go along with it in your first response. So if the delusion is, let's say my mum believes that somebody is trying to force her to move out of her house. I know that's not the case. So my emotional response is going to be, don't worry, that's okay, you're safe, you're going to be looked after. And then I agree with the delusion in as much as saying, I kind of go along with it to say, if this is happening, then we need to find a way to think about it and sort it out. Let's think about who to contact. And the more that I kind of go along with it with her, the more I can gradually start to move away from whatever the delusion is into what I might call safer ground. So subjects that are real and safe and promote a kind of positivity. If in that conversation she feels that it's been met with a plan and she feels reassured, then I feel like I can persuade her to leave that delusion. It can happen quite quickly. She can be more persuaded to leave it quite quickly, and other times it'll take a really long time and it may stay with her for some days. Now, the really interesting thing about Alzheimer's, as you probably know, is that it affects everybody in different ways. So other people may be absolutely convinced that there are people living with them who are completely fictional, or they may have hallucinations, they may have auditory hallucinations, they may have visual hallucinations. It's really hard to know quite how these are going to manifest. I think the key thing is to know how to respond. And really, in my experience, I've been caught on the hop many times. I've not really been expecting to have my mother ring me and bring whatever delusion she's in to me, and it's difficult to know how to respond. But over the years, I think just sort of responding to the emotion, convincing her that there's a way forward and a plan for dealing with it, and often I will say to her, leave it with me, let me sort this out, I'm going to look after it for you. Sometimes it's those kinds of words and phrases that will make all the difference. That reassurance is key, and hopefully that'll really help you to deal with the situation. It's a really tricky one. There's probably going to be a lot more to say about delusions, but I hope that gives you an initial answer anyway. If you want to ask me any more questions, tweet your question to answers to Alz. I'll do my best to answer it, and if you want to find out about any other videos, then please subscribe. Okay, thanks, bye.